Hi everybody, welcome to this, which is a video explaining how to do the second slide on the Desmos practice assignment for a sort of sorts. We're going to be looking at how to distinguish between lines and curves, which is pretty straightforward just as it sounds, but let's make sure we cover all the bases. So when there are words, we read them. In this assignment, you will be given the graph of a function and be asked to determine if the graph is constructed from lines or curves. So we're ready to tackle this, and we see this is going to be the same instructions and the same options all the way through this part. Identify which of these best describes the graph to the left. Is it a single line, multiple lines, or a curve? So in this case, we see the red graph. We have a straight line, and then it meets at a point, and another straight line. So this one we would say is constructed of multiple lines, because we can look at this as being two straight lines sort of welded together at that point right there. So we would say multiple lines. The real key to this is going to be looking at this place right here where they come together. For functions constructed from multiple lines, that will be a sharp point, like kind of like an elbow. If it's a curve, you'll see that kind of flatten out and be more U-shaped. So that's really going to be the most confusing thing on this assignment. So here we see this is constructed of multiple lines, and of course as we enter our answer it will tell us if we're correct or not, and then we can get a new problem. Here we see, notice that U shape that I talked about, that this is going to be a curve. In this case, notice we've got a lot going on here. There's a straight line, and it meets at an elbow, and another straight line, and then there's that kind of pointy elbow that I talked about again, and another straight line. So we would say that this one is constructed from multiple lines. Here we have another curve, and we'll get ourselves an example of a straight line, and that'll be all she wrote. This one is again multiple lines. You can see they meet at those points. Multiple lines again, and there's our straight line, and you can see it's just one line all the way across. There we would say that is a single line. And so something that's kind of neat here that I want to point out is that our different function families fit into these. So for instance, a single line, that could be something from the linear function family or the constant function family. And remember, constant is sort of a special case of a linear function. So those two will always be single lines. Functions that are formed from multiple lines would be our absolute value functions. And remember, the absolute value function looks like a V, whereas our constant is a flat line, and linear would be a diagonal line. You can also have multiple lines from a linear piecewise function, which is where we just have multiple lines put together. And so those are the ones that kind of look like that, where you have several lines joined together. For curves, those are going to be our quadratic functions, which remember are U-shaped, and our exponential functions form curves as well, and those kind of have like that hockey stick shape to them. So there you go. That was, believe it or not, 4 minutes over determining whether or not something is a curve, a single line, or multiple lines. So I hope that was beneficial to you. Complete 15 of these, and as always, seek help from a teacher if needed.